Welcome to the special segment of the Krypton Report, our first of several Junia Reviews. I'm Tyler, and with me is Junia. Hello, Junia.
Hello, Tyler. How are you today?
I'm good. As we enter the year of Superman, that is 2025, I thought it would be fun to rope my wife into doing some reviews, mainly because a lot of the stuff she'll be looking at is stuff that's been referenced for the new film, as well as it's some of the most quoted, talked about, and celebrated Superman stories, and getting her a fresh opinion, an honest opinion, without having all the biases that some of us have, is refreshing. But we can't go anywhere until we start at the beginning. So, Junia Reviews, as she reads, Action Comics #1. Now, Junia,
Yes.
we had just watched Superman and the Mole Men,
Yeah. I remember.
and you had made a comment about something, and James had said, well, it's so golden agey.
Yeah, it's because of the time. Yeah.
And having read Action Comics #1, what are just your overall thoughts?
So, I really loved how we got to see different sides. It was definitely a snapshot. Like snapshot preparation for what we're going to see more of later. And I thought that was really, really cool. Ultimately, I think that the story was pretty solid, and
What did you get from the story? Like, what did you find different as being like the first Superman story?
what do you mean by different? Because
Well,
there's a lot that's different there. So.
Well, I mean, going into it, just how what were your expectations or thoughts? I mean,
you know what? Actually, I will say this. Like, I expected more of a cohesive storyline through thread rather than like kind of bouncing around the way that it did. It bounced around to different stuff. Like
no,
Superman Johnson.
I will say one thing about that is when they were originally pitching Superman, the idea was for it to be a comic strip.
Right, which is what they say at the very end. Yeah.
So a lot of it is kind of pieced together from what would be comic strips to make, the comic book.
Right. Right, absolutely. And that was something that I connected to almost immediately when I started to read it. It's just recognizing those differences. It's easy to see the time period difference. I knew a lot of Superman as far as what he started off with, the power and stuff. So when I saw that, I knew that was going to be the case. But going back to your comment that you made about what James said with him being more brutish, I think what how James was kind of, the theme. And at one point in time in Action Superman picks up this butler and carries the butler to the governor's court, right? And he is manhandling him, basically. The guy's like, he asks him, I think he says, are you going to take me to go see the governor? And the butler said, no, I'm not. And he said, that's okay, I'll take you, basically. So he picks him up and he runs up the stairs with him, hovering above his head. He doesn't just pick him up and piggyback. The dude literally picks him up with one hand by the waist and lifts him, we're talking Dirty Dancing style, up into the air and runs up the stairs, And I agree with James's perspective on him being, more brutish. I think that the Superman that we know now, at least from my perspective, has learned the lesson of having to be gentle with people over the years, because that's one thing I noticed here is the way that Superman is portrayed is, realistic, but he's Superman without the experience.
Mm.
And he's Superman without seeing how his power can affect the world. So it's almost like we have the perspective of what I would almost consider a child, which is really cool. I love to have, obviously, building blocks that are here to create this amazing legacy. And I would say they're pretty solid. And the building blocks that I see are what he stands for. Freedom from repression. He stands for the little guy. He stands for truth and justice here. Really, he
Champion of the oppressed, the physical marvel who had sworn to devote his existence to helping those in need.
Exactly.
I always liked that champion of the oppressed.
Because at that time, right, in the world, there was a lot of oppression that was going on. So when this was created, I know, even if I didn't know, pause for a second, just imagine what it would have been like, 1938.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be a lot of this energy, very similar to where we're trying, but a lot of this energy of wanting to find freedom from oppression, wishing that there was something out there. So you see it immediately, right after in this first, you just get little snapshots of it. So I love that we start with that theme and that it's, carried to now in different ways. But I will say, as simplistic as this story is, experience that I can jump through, definitely feel like
what do you think of the antagonists of the story, so to speak? Who Superman went up against?
Yeah, so you had the criminal, you had the politician, you had a woman, a murderess.
Yes, but my favorite is the wife.
Oh, yeah, that one's at the end. That's the one that you don't see like the completion of the story really. You kind of see him take it off. Like
I just love you're not fighting a woman now. Throws him against the wall.
Yeah, I love that. That was my favorite part. The whole thing. But he is showing justice in what I would consider everyday real life experience back then and now. And he's answering that desire within us all. What is it, the Chris Dockery song?
Mm-hmm.
When we're in the middle of these wish, save us from our experiences or save the world from waste.
I do know. Now, I did find it interesting. Did you notice that where he works in the Action Comics?
The
Daily Star.
Yeah, I definitely paid attention. But I also I knew, being your wife, obviously, I soaked up things over the years, so I can't say that I'm completely unbiased here, right?
No, I know.
But yeah, the Daily Star.
It is interesting just to see where he is when it starts with his power levels. He's basically just a Superman enhanced man.
He's enhanced. He's not really to the extent of what we see now. We just built him up throughout. But
Wait till if I gotta find something crazy from the Silver Age for you to.
Oh.
Where basically he can just fly to a sun and go and blow it out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But having read this and then you watched a couple of Adventures of Superman, do you see how George portrays the perfect golden age Superman?
I mean, I've always George. Even before I read this, yeah, absolutely see that character. You know what's funny? Earlier, when I was thinking about Superman, Vision, George Reeves.
So the great debate, you can get slipped up because
that's why I'm talking right now.
Well, because if you notice,
Don't wanna...
but if you notice, my mom has a habit of putting S's on things. You ever notice?
Kroger.
So this was always one of those things like sometimes I'll slip, but it's Christopher Reeve and George Reeves.
Okay. I always want to flip off.
Yep.
I really do. Yeah. So I think he's excellent. Honestly, wish they would have more. I think he looked at it as being silly. That there was a lot of depth to the acting multitude because we could see ourselves in the strips. We could see our life. And what George did when he got up on the scene is he showed everybody what hope and what it looked like to be able to, triumph. And I feel like maybe he didn't hope the audience to, I'm talking about George, but he didn't realize how much hope he gave his audience to forward. And I think it's so tragic when anybody on this earth dies.
I always think of that last line from It's a Wonderful Life, where what Clarence wrote in his book, "No man worthless who has friends."
Yeah.
I think that's sometimes things we need. But all right,
That's deep.
Yeah, we're getting deep.
Getting deep.
Thank you, Junia, for your first Junia Reads.
Yeah.
Check out each month as we will have a different Superman story building up to July's release of Superman.